Welcome back to 340, the podcast where we explore intimacy, love, and presence. In today's episode, I'm joined by Britta Kunze, a trauma-informed embodiment coach who works deeply with the body's wisdom. She brings a grounded, compassionate lens to everything from sexuality to self-worth, and has a unique way of cutting through both the shame and the performance that often surround these topics. Together we'll dive into the story of Sandra, when desire could breathe. Sandra's story is about contrasts. In long-term relationships, she often felt fear of losing stability, the home, the status, the safety. And in that fear, her body closed. But in short-lived encounters, where nothing was at stake, she could finally let go. She could guide, speak her desire, and allow herself to truly enjoy. This is a story not just about sex, but about how fear and freedom dance inside us, and what it takes to bring that freedom into the relationships that matter most. Sandra, when desire could breathe. It wasn't the number of lovers that shaped her. It was what she discovered in them. In the fleeting spaces between sheets that would never be washed together again. There was a kind of freedom, a playfulness, a clarity. There she could guide, say what she wanted, take up space, and enjoy truly. But in cohabitation, something faded. Words got stuck. Her body hesitated. She didn't know why. Was it the men she chose for the long term? The roles that quietly crept in? Or was it something inside her that grew afraid, when the heart and mind were no longer in sync? When fear took the lead, the fear of being left, hurt, abandoned, her body closed itself. And yet she longed to love for real. To lead from love, not from fear. To dare to be seen, not just as a sensual body, but as a whole woman. She knew what she had to do, heal her inner child, and let go of what no longer protected her. She'd once heard something that stuck with her. When you let someone into your body, you invite their energy. If that energy is wrong, you'll feel it in all of you. And Sandra recognized that. In some relationships, she turned to stone. When there was too much to risk, her home, her safety, her status. But in others, she could just melt. One night, no future, just now. His name was Elias. Nothing remarkable about him, but the way he looked at her as if he knew she carried fire, not just skin, that opened something in her. They sat at a bar, her hand on his knee, his voice crawling under her skin. When they stepped into his apartment, she said it right away. I don't want small talk. I want to feel. He didn't answer. He took her face in his hands. The kiss was slow, yet certain, and in it there was no promise of tomorrow, only complete presence in the now. When he kissed her neck, her collarbone, let his teeth graze her skin, her body responded without resistance. She was there, fully. He lay on his back. She straddled him. Her hips moved slowly at first, but soon it became an animal rhythm. His hands on her back, her nails against his chest. And when she came, deeply, loudly, it wasn't because she needed him. It was because she had finally let go of the need to be held onto. Afterwards, they lay in silence. She pulled on her skirt, kissed his shoulder. This, she said, was beautiful. Not because it was love, but because it was true. I'm joined by Britta Kunze, a holistic sex coach and someone who works deeply with the body's wisdom. Welcome back, Britta. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hello, Henrik.
So we've been listening to Sandra and her story, When Desire Could Breathe. And, Sandra feels free in short encounters, but very closed in the long-term relationships. Why do you think this happens so often, that these things are repeated in those type of encounters?
A very typical and reoccurring theme in couple sex coaching or also individual sex coaching is exactly what you described, that people feel very confident in casual sex, but then in long-term relationships, their libido might decrease. And why that is, if you have a short encounter like a one-night stand, if you meet fresh with somebody, everything is new, everything exciting, but also there is nothing, how do you call it in English, at stake, at risk.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And there might be less fear of rejection, like you haven't deeply bonded with a person, you haven't deeply connected. It's probably not, in one way it's about you, but in another way it's less about you. And then what happens in long-term relationships is that, of course, our attachment patterns, our attachment styles kick in, and often there is this fear of loss or the fear of judgment, and that can happen to us shutting down, being less vulnerable. The moment I shut down, I suppress parts of myself, I don't fully show up vulnerable. That's when my life force energy becomes stagnant, and that might get reflected in the sexuality.
And we spoke about this remember we had one of our first episodes, we talked about how you can act from a place of love or from a place of fear. And it feels like when she's in these short encounters, she can act from that place of love. And I guess when you're in the long-term relationship, she's acting from a place of fear because she can risk something in losing something in the relationship.
Yeah, of course. It's this though, I mean, now I'm coming more from the sexological point of a perspective. In a short-term encounter, what can also happen is that you're so tense in a way that can also stimulate sexual excitement as well, so it can be. But what you're saying totally is that many people confuse this safety, feeling safe and controlling. It's two different sides, and it connects to what you're saying, acting from a place of love or acting from a place of fear. And then either I start to control myself or I start to try to control my partner. And then often things go down the drain. And then the real work is to learn to stay embodied. And even though fear arises, so it's not about not feeling the fear anymore, but it's about being able to stay present with it, to communicate it, and to see, like, to rewire your somatic system.
Yeah, because I feel like the fear of loss, whether if it's the home stability or identity, it really seems to affect our ability to surrender sexually or emotionally with someone.
Yeah. And that brings us all back to the safety thing again. So how can I really feel safe within myself? And what do I need right now in order, like, to open up and to surrender? And then opening up and surrendering might be to open up also to this fear I have, or to the anger, or maybe the parts in you I reject, or whatever. In a long-term relationship, it's not all about honey and flowers and hearts all the time. It's really about meeting each other as people, with also the stuff that comes up, maybe the disappointment, the disillusion. Oh, you're a human being, and so am I.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful thing, because you often talk about desire and safety need to coexist, and it seems like women particularly, they need to feel safe, and men obviously also need to feel safe, but it really is about how we create that moment or ability.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, safety begins in the body in the first place and not in the relationship. It's like when people say, oh, my partner had an affair and now I will be never able to trust them again. It's a similar thing. Like, okay, trust is a decision and it starts with you. And trust doesn't mean to trust that the other person will never do a mistake and behave like a human being. you know,
Yeah.
trust is like, okay, I know you will fuck up and I know I will fuck up and still I'm here and I decide to show up. And so, how can somebody feel safe and how can somebody stay open in love is practicing grounding yourself and practicing or realizing that safety is not the absence of risk, but that's how do I embrace the risk? How can I stay present with emotion?
Yeah.
And how can I build inner safety? Inner safety within myself, and also inner safety not through only like my only go-to place is my romantic partner, but that I also cultivate other relationships where I can experience love and safety when, for example, my partner has a moment where he or she is not capable of providing that because they have their own lives and their own stuff going on.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where I think a lot of, if you read some studies around, if you have a best friend, for example, and you can be very emotionally intimate there, it also supports you in a great way in that sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it depends a little bit on the definition of intimacy, but I
Yeah.
think I see it as a sign for a good relationship if you can be very honest and very open and very transparent about things.
Yeah.
And I meet sometimes couples who have been together for such a long time, for 5 years, 10 years, maybe even 20 years, and they're hiding big secrets in front of each other because they're so afraid that that might put their relationship at risk. But then again, we come to this, they shut down. You cannot be fully open if there are maybe even important parts about you that you are trying to hide.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. If you start living a secret life in your head, then you know you're in
yeah.
not in the right place.
Yeah, that you're in the right place to train a new pattern and a new skill set.
Definitely that. So, what do you think it takes for desire to truly breathe inside a relationship instead of suffocating under expectation or fear?
For a desire to breathe,
Yeah.
to navigate this, like to, okay, you need space. The things we talked like, how can I slow down? How can I show up? How can I, instead of focusing just on this fear that contracts me, what do I need also to expand to feel pleasure? And when I'm in survival mode on a deeper level, on a nervous system level, if I'm in survival mode, then it's going to be basically up to, I won't be able to surrender to anything because I will always be in this
Yeah.
contraction. And then,
We have the
especially,
walls. You have the walls set up around you, more or less.
yes.
Yeah.
And so it's so it's to learn what happens when I take down these walls, what happens if I become vulnerable, and to confront this fear of, okay, then the other person leaves and the other person goes away. If they do, then it's probably not your best relating partner that you have there in front of you.
Mm.
So healing comes from separating these practical safeties like bills, housing, the everyday practicals from emotional safety.
So, how do you think partners can create a space where both freedom and attachment can exist without canceling each other out?
Well, to create spaces where both parts get nourished, where the connection part gets nourished, the intimacy, like I want to bond with you, I want to eye gaze with you, I want to connect with you, and it's just
Mm.
you and me forever. And then on the other side, to also give each other space to you being you and me being me, and us going out and doing our thing and experiencing some kind of freedom in it, and then come back and meet on the intimate part. So it's balancing. You probably know Esther Perel, who is a famous couple therapist, and she always talks about this balancing the intimacy and the eroticism, like the desire part, the mystery. And the mystery is about, I don't know you, and I might lose you at any given moment if I don't make enough effort to connect.
And that goes back to that we have to choose each other every day, right?
Yeah, to choose each other and to stay curious about each other. And for example, ask questions, okay, like, what do you need? Is there anything you need to feel free right now?
Exactly.
And then answering to that honestly, it might be a challenge in itself again.
Yeah, I think when you have somebody who can poke you a bit, if you have your wound, for example, but actually pokes you and challenges you and makes you step out of that comfort zone, I think it's sometimes a healthy thing. It's not always, it takes bravery to do it, and it also takes bravery to stand and meet that person who does it to you.
And again, we come back to this, no, the balance between safety and also challenge. And I think people who haven't experienced the foundational safety thing, it's going to be very hard to be challenged.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, an advanced thing.
And then you need the basic awareness first. You need to have started to work on yourself to get to that point where you understand that you should stay and be there and not run away.
Yeah, and I mean, how you don't cancel each other out, that was your questions, is to consciously play with different roles and to create this polarity. And, you know, there might be time where I hold space for you, and there might be time where I challenge you, and vice versa. There might be time for intimate bonding, and there might be time for autonomous exploring and freedom, and then to see, and this is what creates basically the erotic charge.
Yeah, and that's what you need to nourish.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Britta.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this conversation with Britta and for stepping into Sandra's story with us. Her journey shows us something many experience but rarely name: a fear of loss, of security, of being left, of status can silence our voice in intimacy, and how paradoxically it's in the temporary, the fleeting, that we sometimes allow ourselves the most freedom. The real question is, how do we bring that freedom, that playfulness, that presence into the spaces where love also lives? If this episode touched you, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want to explore further, you'll find exclusive practices, reflections in the subscriber-only section of the podcast, designed to help you reconnect with your body, your voice, and your courage in love. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and stay present.